These notes will be taken on the page in your notebook that looks exactly like this right here. You have blanks, and then I'm going to display the blanks on the screen as I go along. You are only responsible for writing what is underlined. So the first step that we talk about in a bill becoming a law is an idea, although that's not a step you will be tested on for the SOL test or for my test in class. But I like to start with the idea because basically laws don't just develop out of thin air. Anybody can come up with an idea for a law. You, me, an interest group, or even the president. And typically when the president comes up with ideas, he does introduce them during his State of the Union address. So the first step that we actually study that you're required to know for the SOL is that a member of Congress will introduce the bill. Even though anybody can come up with an idea for a bill, a person has to be a member of Congress to introduce it. At that point, the bill will go to committee. And they do a lot of work on it. They're going to discuss and edit the bill. And that does take a long time usually. Sometimes bills do not even make it out of committee. The bill is then debated on the floor. This takes place in both the House and the Senate, but just keep in mind, as we discussed in class, it is not simultaneous. So in other words, it's going to go through one house. Typically, it doesn't matter which house it starts in. And then if it passes through that house, it's going to go back to the other house. So even though it says both the House and the Senate, just be aware it happens at different times. At that point, I'm sorry, for whatever reason, this was messed up. The next step is that a vote takes place on the floor in both the House and the Senate. So once again, just be aware that this does not happen simultaneously. If it doesn't pass through one house, it's obviously not going to go on to the next house. But if it does pass through both houses, it will then be sent to the president, and he can either sign it or veto it. Remember, if the president vetoes a bill, it means he doesn't want it to become law, but it does get sent back to Congress at that point, and they can override the veto. We did discuss in class, however, that even if the president vetoes it, Congress can override it, but it is very difficult. And we talked about the number of times in history that it's been done, which is actually very few.